People everywhere are starting to listen to him. He's going on French, British, Italian, Japanese television.
This is the wide world of Weingarten.
Hey guys, welcome back to the wide world of Weingarten. It is November 12th, Friday. Have a couple things to go over today. Tua Tagovailoa came off the bench last night and led the Dolphins to a 21-10 upset over the Ravens. I think there were some money line prices higher than 3-1. The under one easily. The Dolphins covered the spread, killed all the early Wong teaser legs with the Ravens, and a lot of people lost Survivor last night. So a bunch of stuff went on in the NFL. Tua actually looked pretty decent coming in late with the Brissett injury. I expect the Dolphins to probably give him a couple more starts now that they're not getting Deshaun Watson during the season. And we got to give a lot of credit to Brian Flores and his defensive staff for that game plan. They blitzed on 52.1% of the Ravens' dropbacks, and they did a really good job keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket all night. I would expect other teams to watch this game tape and emulate the defensive game plan against the Ravens going forward. Dolphins safeties Javon Holland and Brandon Jones blitzed 21 and 17 times respectively last night, which is more than any other defensive backs in any game this season. And in fact, it's the most of any defensive backs in the entire Next Gen Stats era, which is 2016. And I feel pretty confident saying that it's a record in the modern NFL too. I've never heard of two defensive backs blitzing that much. It was very interesting. And again, credit to Brian Flores and his defensive staff for such a out of the box game plan. There's a lot of safeties that I could think that would benefit from being blitzed 20 times a game, and like a guy like Derwin James comes to mind. I really hope we see more defensive back blitzing. But I think a lot of defensive coordinators and defensive quality control staffs will be breaking down this tape this weekend and seeing how they can implement it in their game plans, especially against running quarterbacks like Lamar. Obviously, the loss and Lamar's performance last night don't do any favors for his MVP campaign, which I highly touted. He's currently 16-1 at DraftKings, which is low, actually. I personally would have put him. I would have opened him at 25-1 today. I would have even considered opening him at 33-1 after last night and seeing if I took any money and forced me to move it lower. But I'm surprised he's 16-1. I expect that number to be a lot higher after this weekend. And John Harbaugh, who I'd heard had been a contender for Coach of the Year. I never liked him, but you could essentially eliminate him now. So fallout from yesterday's game was decent in the awards market. Jason Odafe-Oweh had a sack and a couple tackles for losses. He's still the number 2 contender for Defensive Rookie of the Year, but he needs to do something to make up some ground against Micah Parsons. The Rashad Bateman first touchdown prop didn't work out last night. He had 6 receptions for 80 yards on 8 targets, but the only Ravens offensive touchdown came from Mark Andrews. The first touchdown was scored by the Dolphins defense, which was either a big price if you had a defensive touchdown as part of the market, or it was a field bet at like 8-1. I don't think there was a lot on that. So, it's like coming up 0-0 on the roulette board. Sometimes you just lose these props. And one thing just to point out for the first touchdown props, sometimes you just lose them for a long time, like a month straight. Especially if you're betting them at big odds, I've lost them for weeks at a time. And then all of a sudden you hit like three big ones, three really long shots in one day. So you really can't control when they hit, but I've had more good experiences than bad experiences with them, so I just keep playing them. But sometimes you have to be willing to go a couple weeks without winning one until you win a big one. The Coach of the Year stuff I've been promising for a couple days. I still need a little bit more time to really dive into this market and get a better idea of what's going on. So it's probably going to push that to midweek next week. But I do want to point out some of the major discrepancies between the market prices at the widely available places like DraftKings and then less available at Circa, who I think has better numbers and a better feel on the market usually. But so DraftKings, they have Cliff Kingsbury plus 450. Circa has him plus 225. It's half the price. You just have to look at that when they have a favorite like that at Circa, they think he's a much better favorite than DraftKings. Same with Mike Vrabel. He's still 7.5 to 1 at DraftKings, for 4.25 at Circa. Zach Taylor, which I bet before, and I think this is actually a good bet, especially with the Ravens' loss this week, puts the Bengals back with a chance to win the division. Zach Taylor, 18 to 1 at DraftKings versus 8 to 1 at Circa. Sean McVay, 10 to 1 at DraftKings, 12.5 to 1 at Circa. Don't like that as much. Bill Belichick, 20 to 1 at Circa, 16 to 1 at DraftKings. I'm pretty sure it was 30 to 1 earlier this week at Circa. They're only one game, 2 games out of the second seed in the AFC, the wide open AFC. I think Bill Belichick, it's not an award for coaches like Bill Belichick. We already know how great Bill Belichick is, but 20 to 1 might have to consider that. And then the even bigger long shot, I think I briefly mentioned this before a couple weeks ago, but Kevin Stefanski, 75 to 1 at Circa, 20 to 1 at DraftKings. I think he was as high as 200 to 1 at Circa earlier this week. They probably dropped him after the Bengals loss last night. Sorry, not the Bengals, the Ravens lost last night. He won the award last year, and it's rare for coaches to win this award back to back. So I'm not like rushing to the window to bet this, but it is compelling. It's a compelling number, but you also have to keep in mind that you're playing 75 to 1 that was 200 to 1 earlier in the week. So it's always not a particularly winning formula to pick off a number after the move like that. But that's where we're at with Coach of the Year. I'll go into more detail next week with after the Week 10 games. We'll see where we stand with everything. So yesterday I recorded, and right after I finished, the Rams broke the news that Odell Beckham had signed, which actually the Rams beat writer, whose name I don't recall off the top of my head, she broke that news like a solid hour to 90 minutes before. She mentioned that Sean McVay on his press conference with the media was very coy about whether or not Odell Beckham was being courted, and he couldn't say anything, but he basically gave it away that he was on his way to LA in one way or the other. And the Rams beat writers had this hour before the market really reacted, which isn't to say that the market reacted that much, because the Rams are like 8 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. They're already one of the favorites, so there's really not much you could do numbers wise with an addition like this. But Odell Beckham himself, the player Odell Beckham, his first 3 years in the NFL, the 2014 2016 seasons, if you recall back that far, he had 288 receptions for 4,122 yards, 35 touchdowns. He averaged 95.9 yards a game over about 45 regular season games or so. I think he missed a game or two over those couple of years, but he had a very good first season in the NFL. He was one of a number of a long line of LSU receivers that have come in the league and put up great numbers. He actually did win Offensive Rookie of the Year, whereas Justin Jefferson, a recent elite wide receiver from LSU, did not. And Jamar Chase, who might actually be the first wide receiver, I think, since Odell Beckham is also an LSU grad. So, I mean, a long line of elite LSU receivers in the NFL, but he's not at all, you can't really say he's the same player at age 29 as he was at age 24 when he was putting up those numbers. He's older. He's had several seasons of injuries. He's missed 20 games or so in the last couple of years. And he's worn out his welcome with 2 different organizations. It's not necessarily a winning game plan to bring in guys who have forced their way out or have worn out their welcome in 2 different places. But that's also fairly normal for wide receivers. If you've watched football long enough, you probably have a favorite wide receiver who worked his way off your favorite team or ended up getting pushed out of town. Terrell Owens, comes to mind. He wore out his welcome several places. Randy Moss, he ended up bouncing around a couple times before he got to the Patriots, put up a great year, and then he bounced around a couple more years. It's wide receivers have different personalities than a lot of other football players, and they tend to fight with organizations a lot. I don't know why. I really have no insight into that, but the upside of this deal for the Rams is that it didn't cost them much, and that if he has any of that talent post injury, um, those injuries that kept him off the field for 20 games for the last 3-4 years, he's still really good he's still a really good player, and he can contribute to this Rams offense. He's not being asked to carry the load as the number one receiver either, like he was in New York or Cleveland. So that's very helpful. They already have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods as solid number one, number two receivers. So Odell Beckham is a complementary piece to that, and it's going to take him a while to get him into the actual playbook and get him in screens and in the slot and everything. But he can definitely create his own touches and get out in space and get open especially with a defense that's concerned about keeping Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods covered. There's only so many defensive backs you can put on the field. You have Tyler Higbee and Van Jefferson too, who are both plus receiving options. Somebody's going to be open, and this is the type of addition that's going to really help the Rams offense as a whole, as opposed to one player in particular. It'll obviously help Matt Stafford and make him a better candidate for MVP. That he'll have more weapons to throw to. But I think this move is it's similar to what the Patriots do with disgruntled veterans, where they bring them in and try to get the best out of them. But there's some downside. I mean, he's kind of old. 29's old for a wide receiver. He's been injured. There's no guarantee he's going to do well. It didn't cost much, so it's a good pickup. Good pickup for the Rams. They added Odell Beckham this week. They added Von Miller last week. He hasn't suited up for the Rams yet, but it's important to point out, the media really hyping up these acquisitions, but neither one of these players' teams were really upset to see them go. The Broncos didn't hesitate to dump Von Miller. There's clearly some background information missing on how this trade happened so fast. Von Miller's in his 11th season. He's played 11 years all in Denver, where they won a Super Bowl. He was Super Bowl MVP. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, most sacks in Denver history. There's, it's not usual to see a veteran like that traded in the middle of the season without there being some sort of reason why they pushed him out the door. And like I mentioned, there was some stuff about a Halloween party and asking the rookies and other people to pay for it or something. But there's got to be way more to this story than just some sour locker room stuff. So like I mentioned, the Broncos were glad to see him go. They smashed the Cowboys last week without him. And Von Miller, he missed all 2020 with an ankle injury. He played 7 games this year. He looked fine. He can easily add something to the Rams defense, especially like how I mentioned with Odell Beckham. He's not being asked to carry the load. He's a complementary piece to the guys who are already doing their things there. And the Broncos were able to get some picks back for him, for a guy they clearly didn't need. They were able to beat the Cowboys, hold them scoreless till garbage time. So the NFL sometimes just strange. Trades happen. The teams, LA benefits by being LA and being all in and being a place where veterans want to come and play. And the Broncos got some draft picks. That's just how it works sometimes. But these guys, they're complementary pieces for the Rams. They're veterans that are not being asked to carry the load for the team, but to contribute, and do the things they do best. So you definitely get the sense that the Rams are all in. The Rams are trying to get to the Super Bowl this year, and they are adding the pieces to make that happen, as opposed to an organization like the Packers, who just, it seems, year after year cannot get these extra weapons, whether it's Randy Moss or Marshawn Lynch. When Marshawn Lynch was leaving Buffalo, they could have had him. They didn't. There's just a long line of weapons that Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers would have been very happy to have, that the Packers just refused to. They refused to push these over the line in season. But the Rams are going to benefit from all these other teams wanting to dump veterans. I would imagine if there's any other veterans that get dumped in the next week or two, the Rams will be on them as well. They're absolutely all in for the Super Bowl this year. But beyond that, the Cam Newton news broke as well right when I started taping yesterday. It didn't change the Panthers odds at all, but it's cool he's back. I don't think he'll be active this week. XFL legend PJ Walker will probably get at least one start before Newton takes his old job back. So, gonna take a break real quick. Welcome back, Wide World of Weingarten, getting into the European Tour this afternoon. Antoine Rosner is the leader at 15 under. He followed up his opening round 65 with a 64. JB Hansen's tied for second at 14 under. Dean Burmeister, who I bet on before the event started, is slightly in contention. He's tied seventh at 11 under. Only shot a 68 on a course that where a 4 under isn't really good enough to gain ground. He had some bogeys on the back end of the front 9 and the back 9, so he could have played better. It's hard when you play when you win a tournament like you did in South Africa last week. You hope the form carries over, but it's hard to put up 8 rounds of elite golf over 2 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him falter a little bit, shoot a 70 or something this weekend, but I'm absolutely hoping that he continues to contend. The problem, like I mentioned yesterday, though, is that a course like this, that's built for Middle Eastern sheiks who have never picked up a golf club before they joined this country club. It's not the kind of course that's going to get harder as the weekend wears on. The greens aren't going to harden or anything. I wouldn't be surprised to see the winning score at -25 or even a little higher. And this isn't even a particularly strong field, mind you. So remember, next week when they move over to the other course, there's 2 courses on this country club. I think they're playing the Fire course this week, and next week it's called the Earth course or whatever. I don't know why they pick these stupid names, but that's what they're called. So I mentioned Burmeister's in contention. Tied for 7th, but it's gonna take some low rounds this weekend for him to get to 25 or whatever. I don't see the Rosners and Hansens of this field letting up and having bad rounds this weekend. It's just gonna be up to the guys to shoot low scores. Surprisingly, haven't seen live betting on this. I don't know why. The normal places I would live bet this do not have it. The Latvians do have it, but I don't recommend betting there. I'm just using their odds for comparison because they use some third-party live odds provider to get these numbers, so I don't mind pulling their numbers for reference. But Rosner 3.5 to 1 favorite. JB Hansen 5.5 to 1, down from 9 to 1. Fleetwood also 5.5 to 1. Don't love that. Laporta 8 to 1. Weisberger 11 to 1. Burmeister 14, up from 9. I thought I saw 17 earlier, so 17, 14, whatever. He was 9 to 1 after the first round, 14 to 1 after the second round. Was 33 to 1 pre-tournament, so still about half his pre-tournament odds, but can't say I'm feeling particularly good about it with the scores from the rest of the field and everyone's ability to go really low. Next week, I mentioned it's the Euro Tour Championship, which means the top 50 in the race for Dubai field will be playing. There'll also be a couple of exemptions. For example, like Sergio Garcia is exempt, and for some reason Patrick Reed is exempt. I can't figure out why anybody wants Patrick Reed there. I'm guessing it's something to do with an appearance fee. He's recently been in Bermuda, Mexico, and now Dubai. My stance: the less Patrick Reed, the less we talk about him, the better. There's a guy I'll never root for, but some guys we should be seeing in the European Tour field next week who are not there this week includes, let's see, Colin Morikawa, Billy Horschel, John Rahm, Terrell Hatton, Matt Fitzpatrick, Abe Ancer, Will Zalatoris, Victor Hovland, Guido Migliozzi, Rory McIlroy, Lucas Herbert, Justin Rose, Garrick Higo, and many others that I didn't care to mention, but it should be a pretty stacked field, the top 50 on the Euro Tour. Looking forward to that. I'm sure John Rahm will be a short favorite. Morikawa probably also up there as well. Rory will be, hopefully higher than 10 to 1, 12 to 1. I would not be surprised if next week's show, Monday or Tuesday, the first thing you hear me say is, I bet Rory McIlroy. Let's just wait and see what the number is, but it's Rory on a desert course. Gotta always get those bets in. Maybe we'll even do some top 10 or something, top 20. Probably not going to be a good price. Maybe top 10, top 5 sort of thing. But yeah, Rory on a desert course next week. Let's bookmark that. The PGA Tour second round's underway in Houston. They finished the first round early this morning. Martin Trainer currently in the lead at 10 under. Kevin Tway currently second at 9 under. If you'll excuse me really quickly, I'm going to check the board just to see if anything's changed since I started recording. Yep, nothing exciting. Matt Wolf's at -3. The guys I like haven't teed off yet. Grayson Sigg, Davis Riley. Let's see. It's not a very exciting leaderboard. Scott Scheffler shot an 82. A 62 to jump into contention after an opening round 72. So 62 after his 72. It's a nice decent low score. If I was going to jump into some live betting, I thought about maybe Matt Wolff, but he's like 12-1 live. That's absolutely a bad price on Matt Wolff. I cannot take 12-1 on Matt Wolff live. Davis Riley was 90-1, Grayson Sigg 100-1. Those are guys I would probably take a stab at. If either one of them starts with a couple birdies in their second round today, I might take a stab at them. But like I mentioned, I'm really not betting too much this weekend because I got this huge future carryover next week. Maverick McNealy, it's not his week. It looks like he's 2 under, finishing his second round up after a first round 71. He'd have to have a really big Saturday to justify betting 200-1. So I'm probably just gonna pass for that. And you can always pick these things up live and Saturday afternoon, or find something compelling later on. But that's what I got. I mentioned Ole Miss under 56.5 for Saturday is my exciting football bet for the weekend. Wong teasers, I don't really have much. I mentioned Steelers Saints was the Wong teaser. If you used the Ravens last night, you already lost. So basically done with that for the weekend. So yeah, I'll be back. I think next episode's going to be Monday afternoon, barring something that I feel I need to record this weekend. So yeah, look for episode 23 on Monday.